Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 7 of the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show. My name is Aaron Machbitz. I'm the owner of Champions Adjust, which is the sponsor for this sports show. At Champions Adjust, we offer mostly the most important thing we offer is mindset programs for all athletes, specifically geared to youth athletes. So you can go to Champs Adjust for any of those online courses or mindset programs. We also release a podcast episode every single day, and we do this sports show once a week. And we also have really cool apparel and merchandise. So you can go to champsadjust.com for all your Champions Adjust needs. But this is episode 7 of the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show. So let's jump right in and let's start with the college football playoffs. First off, congratulations to North Dakota State University for winning the FCS championship. They won that, I believe, on January 6th was the date of that national championship game. And North Dakota State is an absolute dynasty when it comes to FCS football. They've been dominant for a very long time. I say that reluctantly because I am a graduate and an alumni of South Dakota State University, but you have to give credit where credit is due. And North Dakota State has won 10 FCS championships, the most of any football program in subdivision history. And some thought that North Dakota State Dynasty was dead entering this 2024 season, after failing to win the FCS title in the previous 2 years, which SDSU won. They went back to back, but they lost to North Dakota State in the semifinals. However, the Bison proved the doubters wrong. NDSU and first-year head coach Tim Polasek, who became the 9th head coach to win an FCS title in his first year. North Dakota State finished with only 2 losses, just one in the actual FCS. But rise up on the list as only the Bison title with this number 1 strength of schedule. NDSU beat 4 ranked teams, beat the number 1 overall seed Montana State in the actual national championship game. And like I said, beat the number 3 overall seed South Dakota State in the semifinals and in the regular season. So South Dakota State lost twice to North Dakota State this season. So they couldn't do their three-peat, but NDSU secures that 10th championship win and definitely is a dynasty in the FCS football space. So again, congratulations to that great program of North Dakota State. But SDSU, the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, with their new head coach, Dan Jackson, are coming for you next season. And it's a great rivalry. If you like sports, if you like football, it's a rivalry. No matter the division that you want to pay attention to, it's can't miss. The Dakota marker is huge. And so just wanted to, start off the college football playoffs because everyone's centered around the FBS and the new college football 12-team playoff. But we got to give credit where credit is due with the North Dakota State Bison, that incredible, football program and dynasty they've developed over there. And so let's just move on to the college football playoff championships. We now know at this current time that Notre Dame versus Ohio State is the national championship. It's really the battle of the big brands, right? It's the first national championship game of the 12-team college football playoff. And it's really a television executive's dream. Like Notre Dame is 14-1. Ohio State is 13-2. They will meet on January 20th in Atlanta, really the epicenter of SEC country. But for the second straight year, there will not be an SEC team involved in the college football playoff final. Coming off the heels of last season's Michigan-Washington State college football playoff championship, this will be the first time that 2 consecutive title games have involved no SEC teams since 2004 when you had USC versus Oklahoma and 2005 when you had USC versus Texas. This year, it'll be Ohio State versus Notre Dame. Absolutely massive college football programs with a lot of buzz and a lot of notoriety. The Fighting Irish and the Buckeyes is a number 7 versus number 8 seed matchup. But really, don't be fooled. Like, neither of these teams are like a Cinderella story, right? That's the whole point of the college football 12-team playoff. So these sorts of things happen. And maybe potentially the 2 sort of biggest brands in college football will square off for the 9th time in their storied histories. It should be, a TV ratings monster for ESPN, though odds makers have the Buckeyes as the favorite, which I do as well, have Ohio State winning the national championship game, but do not trust me. I've sort of gotten every single pick wrong so far. Initially, I had Georgia and Oregon, and then I picked Penn State to beat Notre Dame. I actually did pick Ohio State to beat Texas, but now you have Notre Dame versus Ohio State, and that's really cool. The athletics projection model gives Ohio State a 69% chance to win. And then you have the Ohio State coach, Ryan Day, whose team ended his season with a regular season loss to Michigan. Stunning. Like, in that place of Ohio State, like, Ryan Day was on the chopping block after losing to Michigan with one of the best Ohio State teams that we've seen. And so this whole playoff was centered around him winning the national championship. Everything would be a failure for Ryan Day if he lost to Michigan and at the same time lost in the national championship. So there's a lot of pressure on him. And so we'll see if they can deliver the school's first national title since the 2014 season. So a lot of pressure on Coach Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes. But again, I think they are the better football team. I think they will win. I think they will beat Notre Dame. But again, even losing to Michigan, that's a huge deal for Ohio State. And then not winning the national championship is a huge deal. So I think the pressure is on Ohio State. Notre Dame obviously has pressure on them too, because they have expectation and standards that they keep, especially with the great coach they have in Marcus Freeman. But I think more pressure is on Coach Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes to win, and they're favored. So there's just a lot of moving pieces there. But if they end up winning the national championship, I think all is forgiven. I think some people in Ohio State would rather them beat Michigan than win the national championship. But, if you're going to pick one or the other, national championship is probably a little bit more prestigious, considering Michigan won it last year, and then Ohio State potentially is going to win it this year. So there's a lot of moving pieces there that I think are really cool to look at. But I just sort of state all that sort of stuff that anyone can really look at and look up, but I'm stating it for you here. But I really want to highlight two coaches because I'm obsessed with good coaches and what makes them great. And the two coaches are Marcus Freeman from Notre Dame and James Franklin from Penn State. And so let's talk about these just two incredible leaders of young men, because that's really what we need in our culture, for young men to be surrounded by great mentors and great leaders so they can blossom into great men themselves. And sports are such a beautiful vehicle for that. Yes, there are some toxicities and dark sides to sports and trying to become great and elite, but there are some things, positive things, that we can highlight as we develop young men through great leadership. And Marcus Freeman and James Franklin are two of the best leaders of young men that we have. Also, Marcus Freeman has a chance to become the first Black head coach to win a major college football championship. That's no small feat. That's incredible. But I think what's more important, and what he also highlighted in a post-game interview that we'll talk about, is his character and how he leads young men. And the same goes for Coach Franklin. So after the win against Penn State, Marcus Freeman was obviously interviewed. They interview coaches after every game, but he was asked about what it feels like to be the first Black head coach to potentially have the chance or go to the national championship and win a national championship and be the first one. And he said, it's great, it's awesome. But he moved directly on to his team, to us, to we, to the group, to the collective, to the people that have helped him there, to his players, to his staff, to everyone. He was more concerned with we and then him. And that's what makes great leaders great. And Marcus Freeman exemplified that so perfectly in just a short interview. That's why his guys want to play with him. That's why they're in the national championship. That's why he's built a great program at Notre Dame, because of the way he represents himself and the way he says, it's not about me. It's about us. It's about the standard we set. It's about day in, day out, playing one snap at a time. And that's why I think his character and his leadership is what we should be talking about. Yes, it's absolutely fucking fantastic that he could be the first black head coach to win a national major college championship. Amazing, of course. But what's more important is his character and his ability to lead young men and allow them to flourish into the best version of themselves, because that's mostly what's important. Young men need great mentors, and he is a great mentor, a great leader, and ultimately that makes him a great coach, right? Sports are a vehicle for change for young men and for boys. They're a vehicle for us to make an analogy to the world about how we can show up as the best version of ourselves on a consistent basis. And when you have a leader like Marcus Freeman who does that, then it's extremely, extremely powerful. And the same goes for James Franklin, who is the head coach of Penn State. And what stood out to me about James Franklin was we have this post-game press conference. You also saw something similar with Nick Saban a couple of years ago when his team lost in a national championship, and it just means a lot. So you see these guys in the post-game press conference, they just lost the biggest game of their life, and there's tears and there's crying and there's emotion. What's beautiful about sports, what makes it great, is when you're in the field of play, when you're in the game, when the lights are on and the clock is running and the game is actually going on, you want to try and be as emotionless as possible. You want to try and be in the present moment and stay locked in on what's important now so you can be at your best when it matters most. Emotionless. When something comes in, you let it go. Something happens, you let it go. You have a very short-term memory, like they say in Ted Lasso. You want to be like a fish, because fish have the shortest memory, right? In the game, you want to forget about all that stuff and you want to be in the moment. In football, you got to play one snap at a time. But after the game is over, all those emotions rush into you, because it is very vulnerable. It is very vulnerable to go out there in front of 60, 70, 80,000 people and try your very best, knowing that you could possibly fail in front of those people. That's very vulnerable. And so those emotions are kept tight inside of the game so that we can be at our best and we can forget about the mistakes and losses, and we can play one snap at a time or one pitch at a time or whatever sport you're in. But then when the game is over, that vulnerability, that emotion comes crashing into you. And you can see tons of players on the Penn State team were crying. And that totally makes sense. That totally makes sense. Then what's important, what I want to highlight about James Franklin, is that he was consoling his players in the most powerful and passionate way. And then we get to this post-game press conference, and his players were there talking about the game and whatever, and they finally leave so they can have some one-on-one time with James Franklin. And he says, "I love you." And they say, "I love you back." That's powerful. That's coaching. That's leadership. Because what makes great coaches great? Yes, you have to be tough on your players. Because if you want to draw the best out of someone, you have to see the best in them and want to draw that out through, hard coaching or tough love or whatever you want to call it. But I think it's just faith in them that they have the ability to do it. But what underlies that? What's the foundation for that? You can't just start screaming at players the first day you meet them. It doesn't work. Some players will just let it go and they'll still be their very best. But majority of people, that's not going to work. What you have to establish is a relationship. Everything in life is based on relationships. And so if I'm a great coach, if I'm going to be a great coach like Marcus Freeman or James Franklin, I'm establishing relationships. And the more I can establish a relationship with my players, the more I can be honest with them and draw out the best in them. And so the "I love yous" is not just like this throwaway thing. It's real, true love you have for your player and you have for your coach, because he's built the connection. He's built the relationship that actually means something. It means I love you regardless of how you perform on the field. It means I care about you regardless of how you perform on the field. Yes, I want to win. Yes, it's about winning, because life is about results, and my job is on the line if I don't win. But if I solely focus on winning, outcomes, I'm never going to be able to draw the best out of me, and I'm never going to be able to draw the best out of my athletes, because we're constricted in this tightness of only focused on winning. If we're relationship driven, if we're process driven, if my coach knows that I care about his players above all else, like I care about you regardless of if you scored this touchdown or not, that player is going to feel so more loose and free to go out there and try his fucking best, because knowing that if he doesn't get the job done, he fails, his coach is still going to love him. That's why we're praising effort over outcomes. That's why we're praising effort over outcomes. That's why we are building relationships over everything. And then we can coach our players tough and hard and give them feedback and allow them to be their very best, because we know that they can be their very best, but we care about them no matter the result. And that's what makes Marcus Freeman or James Franklin or Mike Tomlin or Dan Campbell some of the best coaches in the world, because you can see how much they love and care for their players, but you can also know how hard they coach their players, knowing that they're praising this effort over the outcomes, but ultimately knowing that we have to get this job done. But there's a lot of things that go into it that create the result. And I think that's incredibly powerful. And I wanted to highlight Marcus Freeman and James Franklin as doing that to an excellent job, because nowadays, young men, boys, we need great leaders. We need mentors. We need to see what it can be like to be a great man so that we can grow into that and we can express our masculinity in the most integrated and healthy way. So that's what I have to say about college football playoffs. Let's move on to the NFL, which we'll talk a little bit more about some of the same stuff. But right now, as I'm recording, the playoffs are already going on. Yesterday, we had 2 games. So the road to Super Bowl 59 began on Saturday with the start of a wild card round before eventually culminating with the Super Bowl, the big game in New Orleans on February 9th. All eyes are definitely on the Kansas City Chiefs in their quest to become the first team to three-peat as champions. The NFC runs through Ford Field with the Detroit Lions looking to reach the Super Bowl for the first time ever after winning a franchise record 15 games in the regular season. So let's look at some playoff pictures here, what we got going on now. Okay, so yesterday, Saturday, we saw the Texans win, so they're going on to the next round. We saw the Baltimore Ravens absolutely have a dominant performance over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lamar Jackson playing his absolute best football, probably going to win another MVP, maybe Josh Allen. We will see. And then right now, before I jumped on this live or jumped on recording, the Buffalo Bills were winning. I think they're going to handle the Broncos pretty well. And then I hope the Buccaneers win because I'm a massive Baker Mayfield fan. And I hope the Packers win because I just like the Packers. And so I think that's how it's going to shake out. And then since I went to South Dakota State and my boy Scott Splett is a huge Vikings fan, I'm going with the Vikings. And so I think the Buccaneers, the Packers, and the Vikings will move on. I think obviously the Houston Texans have already moved on, the Ravens have already moved on, and the Buffalo Bills will move on. But I think in the Super Bowl, my ultimate prediction is going to be the Detroit Lions versus the Buffalo Bills. The Detroit Lions versus the Buffalo Bills. My buddy Alex Robbins has picked the Packers versus the Ravens. I think that's a massively cool Super Bowl. But the Chiefs are the team to beat, right? They're going for a three-peat, so I think it could be Lions versus Chiefs, could be Packers versus Chiefs, could be any team, right? You're in the playoffs, you have a chance to win it, right? The Chargers have been eliminated, and then the Pittsburgh Steelers have been eliminated. We'll see some more eliminations throughout the next couple days, but I'm going Buffalo Bills, Detroit Lions as the as my pick for the Super Bowl. And so what I heard last night, though, that I want to share when watching the game, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens game, I want to talk about Lamar Jackson, right? Justin Herbert didn't play well. He threw 3 interceptions, but big players step up in big moments, and Lamar Jackson has not truly done that in the playoffs yet, right? He's a 2-time NFL MVP, probably going to win his third, to have like 41 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, a bunch of rushing yards, just an absolute stud when it comes to playing the game of football. But what he talked about is he said that every time he gets into the playoffs, he gets a little antsy. He gets a little nervous. So what he started to focus on was his self-talk and being able to calm himself down in the moment. Self-talk is a absolutely powerful and crucial mental skill that all athletes have to master if they want to be at their best when the lights are on the brightest. Think like Tom Brady. Think like Peyton Manning, Derek Jeter. These guys who always showed up in the biggest moments. They had control over their self-talk because the number one way to control your confidence in the midst of battle is through your self-talk, is through credible, honest, productive self-talk. And the way you center yourself in the moment and play one snap at a time or think about what's important now is to control your self-talk. So if you're going to be a great athlete and you want to be the best in the world, an elite performer, what sets the good performers from the great ones who step up in the big moments is the mental skills, is honing in on these mental skills of self-talk and being in the present moment and being able to use your breath and showing up in the biggest moments and understanding that feeling nervous is just excitement And how can I say I'm excited, and go into these moments knowing that, yeah, whatever happens, but I'm going to absolutely do my best. And I can control that through my self-talk, because knowing that confidence means intense trust in oneself. And if I dominate my self-talk, I can dominate this moment one snap at a time. And so Lamar Jackson worked on that, and it showed last night in the first round, and we can see him take his team all the way to the Super Bowl. As my buddy Alex Robbins picked, could be the Packers versus the Ravens. But the Ravens have a tough path to go through with Bills and Chiefs and all this sorts of stuff, and same with the Lions. So we'll see how it shakes out, but it's exciting. We'll see the Super Bowl on February 9th in New Orleans. And then some other news from the NFL. You had Mike Vrabel has officially been named the new head coach of the New England Patriots, returning to the franchise where he celebrated 3 Super Bowl victories as a player with Tom Brady. This appointment marks him as the 16th head coach in the team's history and the 7th former player to lead a team he once played for. Vrabel is a Patriots Hall of Famer, steps in after Jared Mayo's tenure, aiming to bring back the robust physical style of play that characterized his playing days. His leadership is expected to be significantly influence the development of second-year quarterback Drake May, with the goal of revitalizing the team's competitive edge, right? When they had Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. We know that Bill Belichick is coaching college football at North Carolina now. They're trying to bring back the glory of the New England Patriots, right? Despite some past critiques regarding player development, Vrabel's return is seen as a strategic move to leverage his respected leadership and deep understanding of the Patriots culture. So congratulations to him and the Patriots. I think that's all I have on NFL news. We'll just, I'm recording this as games are going on. The Bills were winning as I hopped on. We'll see about the Buccaneers and that game later, and we'll see about the Packers-Eagles game later. But we'll move on into MLB news. And it's official, right? MLB action is officially 65 days away. As you know, like MLB and Major League Baseball and baseball in general is my favorite sport. I like to talk about all this other stuff, but I relate it more to mindset, the thing that I'm really passionate about. And that's what sports all about. Again, what separates the good from great is the mindset, is the mental skills. And we have to hone in on those things. And it's cool to see it play out in real time with guys like Lamar Jackson and great coaches like Freeman and Franklin. But the most mentally demanding sport is baseball, because you have mistakes that happen so frequently and you have to forget about them, or you're going to carry that next pitch, that next play into the next at bat. And so dominating your mindset and your mental skills is probably most important in baseball. It's very, very, very crucial in every sport, but I most know baseball because I played that at an elite level. And so official MLB action is only 65 days away. MLB returns to Japan to start the 2025 regular season. The Dodgers and Cubs will open the season at the Tokyo Dome on March 18th, 19th, 2025. But official Major League Baseball opening day is on March 27th, which at the time I'm recording this is 74 days away. So while the Cubs and Dodgers will kick things off earlier, MLB's traditional opening day, presented by Chevrolet, that's very important information. Need to know that it's presented by Chevrolet. Will feature all 30 teams in action. The 15-game slate is the earliest opening day in MLB history, excluding obviously the special international series, where Shohei Ohtani, the hero of Japan, gets to open that international series. I think that's very cool to make baseball a global sport, because we now have the World Baseball Classic, which happens every 4 years. Baseball is back in the Olympics. Very cool things happening in regards to baseball, which makes Cam Newton's comment about baseball even more stupid. But I talked about that last episode, so we don't need to talk about it again. The opening day was March 28th for both the 2019 and 2024 season. But with that said, right, here's talking about some trades, some deals, some finalizations. But with that said, the Cincinnati Reds finalized a deal to acquire infielder Gavin Lux from the Los Angeles Angels. The full trade is that the Cincinnati receives Gavin Lux and Los Angeles Dodgers receive a competitive balance round A pick, which is around number 37, and outfield prospect Mike Cerrito. And then we had some signings, mostly one-year deals. Right-hander Michael Lorenz and the Kansas City Royals are in agreement on a one-year, $7 million contract. Lorenz is 33, was excellent down the stretch for the Royals, and this deal includes a second-year mutual option for $12 million. He's got a versatile arm. He's a great clubhouse guy. That's a good addition for the Royals if they want to make another run in the playoffs like they did in 2024. The A's continue to make moves, which is shocking, but great for the franchise, and hopefully it means more things to come for them. So slugger Brett Rooker And the Athletics are in agreement on a 5-year, $60 million contract. This deal includes a 6-year vesting option of $22 million that can escalate. Another big money deal for the A's. We love it. We love to see it. Spend that money. Be like every Major League Baseball team who's trying to be competitive. I mean, we saw the Juan Soto deal, which I think is just absurd, but whatever. Brett's extension with the A's will pay him $30 million over the first 3 seasons, which would have been his arbitration years. He's 30 years old, has been a late bloomer who thrived with the A's. And after they turned down opportunities to trade him, they instead extended him, which is really what the A's should do with guys they have and develop. And they should keep them around so they can be competitive in that division. And I think they're in Sacramento this year to like a AAA field, but eventually they're moving to Las Vegas, and it could be really great for that franchise, and it could be really great for baseball. And so we saw right-hander Justin Verlander and the San Francisco Giants are in an agreement on a 1-year contract, of course, pending the physical, right? The future Hall of Famer and one of the best pitchers we've ever seen turns 42 next month, will spend his 20th Major League Baseball season with the Giants. That deal was worth $15 million. And then we have the absolute dominant AL Cy Young winner Tarik Skubal and the Detroit Tigers are in agreement on a 1-year, $10 million contract to avoid arbitration. Skubal gets a big raise in his second time through the system. He'll get one more try before reaching free agency in after the 2026 season, which, if he continues on the streak that he's going, could be an absolutely massive deal, one that we saw maybe potentially like Max Fried or Corbin Burns. Same goes for this guy, left-hander Framer Valdez. And the Houston Astros are in agreement on a 1-year, $18 million contract to avoid arbitration. Valdez is in his final year of arbitration and is set to be on a 1-year, set to be one of the premier free agents, after the 2025 season. Again, could see a massive contract for him. Could stay in Houston, could go somewhere else, but one of the best left-handed pitchers in the game, especially dominant in the playoffs. We've seen that when the Houston Astros make some very deep runs. And then the Toronto Blue Jays got better. They signed the all-star right-handed pitcher Jeff Hoffman to a 3-year deal. For all 3 years, Hoffman will get a $500,000 bonus for each 60, 70, 80, and 90 innings pitched. Allows for more upside if he is stretched out. I love that because pitchers are throwing less and less innings because more people are getting hurt. There's a lot to be said about that. But like, we want pitchers to go. He's a relief pitcher, right? But maybe he throws, a couple innings here and there, back-to-back days, all sorts of things to extend him out if he's stretched out and he gets that $500,000 bonus every time he does. And then let's make some kind of early, 73, 74 days out from opening day. Let's make some predictions about who we might think be in the World Series, because the New York Yankees, we know, had a solid season in 2024 that allowed them to compete for yet another World Series title. However, getting through the American League playoffs by beating the Kansas City Royals and the Cleveland Guardians, the Yankees fell apart absolutely in the World Series to the Los Angeles Dodgers. And then we saw the Los Angeles Dodgers obviously win that World Series. The painful World Series loss is likely to stay with the Yankees and inspire them to a World Series title in 2025. This is a direct quote according to MLB Network host Robert Flores. He says, "I think the Yankees finally get over the hump this year. That's my way too early prediction for 2025. The Yankees, yes, certainly came close to winning their 28th World Series title after earning the American East title with a 94-68 record and obviously 2 rounds of wins in the playoffs. And then during the offseason, the Yankees signed Cody Bellinger in a trade with Chicago Cubs. They signed pitcher Max Fried as a free agent and signed slugger Paul Goldschmidt also as a free agent. Even though, yes, they lost Juan Soto to crosstown rival New York Mets, they may have gotten stronger as a team this year. And so, yes, potentially they could make it back. I think they win the AL East again. I think they make it at least to the American League Championship Series. But I think the Texas Rangers have something to say about that. Right after winning the World Series title in 2023, the Rangers fell short. Horrible season in 2024 when they finished with just 78-84 record and failed to even make the postseason. So I think we could see that, because I think the Texas Rangers are better than the Royals and the Guardians, who the Yankees had to beat to get to the World Series last year. So I think we could see a Rangers Yankees matchup in the AL Championship Series. The president of baseball operations for the Texas Rangers, Chris Young, and the front office are working very hard to make sure that abysmal 2024 season doesn't happen again, and they can sort of get back to glory of the 2023 season. They began the offseason by re-signing Nathan Eovaldi and training for slugger Jake Berger before beginning to rebuild the bullpen with additional right-handers Jacob Webb and Sean Armstrong, and lefties Hobie Milner and Robert Garcia, and then later completing a 2-year deal for Jock Peterson, who probably is going to be the team's starting designated hitter, with Evan Carter coming back, with Wyatt Langford, with Adolis Garcia sort of shaping out that outfield. They have a really strong team. There's still a lot to figure out for the Rangers, but like, they're happy with how the new year, heading into the new year, where they're going. And, one potential realistic free agent target who would still be a perfect fit is right-handed pitcher Roki Sasaki. Everyone should want this guy, right? Young said the Rangers are no longer actively pursuing starting pitching after re-signing Eovaldi. But with that being said, the club is always looking to build depth, and Sasaki would be the number one target there. Young emphasized that every team should be in for Sasaki, right? Obviously, one of the biggest stars Japan has seen, probably going to get a huge deal. And the Rangers are no different. They met with Sasaki last month. There's a few teams in the running. The Rangers are one of them. In a rotation picture, including Jacob deGrom, Nathan Eovaldi, John Gray, Tyler Mahey, Kuma Rocker, Jake Leiter, and more, the Japanese superstar could slot right into the middle and be an anchor for the rotation for years to come. So that's a realistic signing that would make the Rangers way better, right? You have deGrom, Eovaldi, and Sasaki as your top three, and then not so bad pitchers in Gray and Rocker and Leiter, squaring that up, because a lot of teams are trying to go to this 6-team starting rotation, and then have more depth in the bullpen. But one player poised to have another breakout year is outfielder and rookie sensation, who was a rookie in the 2024 campaign, was Wyatt Langford. I'm in love with this guy. I think he's amazing, and he did more than enough in his rookie season, right, to be recognized within the Texas Rangers organization. And nobody in Texas or really Major League Baseball doubts his abilities produce on the biggest stage. He finished 7th in AL Rookie of the Year voting, which I think was kind of dumb. And the 23-year-old is perfectly set up for a breakthrough on the national stage, right? He's only going to get better. And I have nothing but good things to say about Wyatt Langford. I think he's going to be an all-star in the 2025 season, and he's going to be sort of the anchor of that offense, along with Corey Seager and Marcus Seaman and Adolis Garcia, as the Rangers get back to their glory of the 2023 season. And I think they're even better than that, with what could potentially shape out to be a really good starting rotation and a really good bullpen, because the one prediction for the new year is Jacob deGrom will win the AL Cy Young Award. Right? Tarek Skubal will have something to say about that, because he was absolutely dominant in the 2024 campaign. It's not that bold of a prediction, really. After all, when healthy, everybody knows who Jacob deGrom is and can be. But while the Rangers ace is perhaps the best pitcher of his generation, he's been absolutely hindered by injuries throughout the 2020s. He hasn't eclipsed 100 innings since his NL Cy Young Award winning 2019 season, but he's fresh off his recovery from Tommy John surgery. deGrom looked like himself in only 10 2/3 innings in September, with like a 1.69 ERA. But that's a very small sample size. But obviously this offseason, he's been working incredibly hard. We could see another full season from Jacob deGrom, and I think he will win the AL Cy Young Award if he stays healthy, and if he can match with Tarek Skubal as sort of the best pitcher in the American League. But if he's anywhere close to the deGrom we all know, he could very well return and be the front runner for the Cy Young Award race. And that would really stamp out the bullpen, with Nathan Eovaldi coming in, who's been excellent, even better in the playoffs, and then some of those other people. And if you sign Sasaki, then that's huge for the Rangers. And they have an absolutely stellar freaking lineup with Simeon and Seager and Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter and Jake Berger and Adolis Garcia. So it could be the massive year for the Rangers. It could be back to their 2023 glory. So I see the Yankees and the Rangers in the American League Championship. I see the Rangers then beating out the Yankees to return to the Fall Classic in 2025. But you can't forget about the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are, by far the odds-on favorite to win the World Series championship again next season. They're even better probably than they were. If they stay even healthier, they're better than they were. And so they're the odds-on favorite. They remain the team to beat. But my early World Series prediction is the Rangers versus Dodgers. I'm not going to say who's going to win. I'm just saying those teams are poised to get back to the Fall Classic. And then potentially what could happen. Who knows? But I think that's an amazing World Series, Rangers versus Dodgers. Big ticket, big money, lots of fans, lots of viewership. Great for Major League Baseball and great for the fans of Texas and for Los Angeles. So those are my way too early World Series predictions. I believe that's all I have for you this week on the Champions Adjust Sports Talk Show. Again, everything you need Champions Adjust related is at champsadjust.com. And also, I want to note one thing, that the reason I'm not talking about professional wrestling on this show anymore is that I started a brand new professional wrestling channel called Pro Wrestling Daily. So check that out and go to champsadjust.com, check out Pro Wrestling Daily, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.